Hello, all you beautiful gamers out there. I am Totem Lord,
And I am Shadow Lord.
and today we are actually going to come at you with some video game chatter. And with the new Link's Awakening coming out, it seems only appropriate to talk about this most legendary title.
Oh, I love what you included there.
That's my thing. It's what I do. So yes, Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening is a Game Boy title, not Game Boy Advance, not Game Boy Color, but originally came out on the original green screen Game Boy back in, when was it?
1993.
1993, and oh man, did that game do wonders, not only for the series, but for games in general.
It certainly proved the power of the Game Boy by being able to take a game similar in size to A Link to the Past and be able to shrink it down onto the Game Boy's green screen and make it playable well beyond 10 hours time frame.
Oh yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, didn't it originally begin as like a see if they could crunch down a Link to the Past, but end up just becoming more of a passion project in its own?
It did become a passion project. It was made by some junior developers at Nintendo who were working in their off hours to see if they could shrink a Zelda title onto the Game Boy itself. It was soon realized that they could do it, and they were given the green light to keep going ahead to create this title. Although the upper brass at Nintendo really considered it a bit of a parody, which is why you have a number of interesting cameos that show up within the game.
Ain't that the truth? By the way, this video will contain spoilers, so if you've already played the game or if you just don't really care, that's what's going to be in this video. We're going to talk about the ending, things that happen in it. So, if you haven't seen it, maybe save it for later, or if you'd like to hear my beautiful voice, keep going.
At over 25 years, you have nobody to blame but yourself at this point.
So, what was your first version? Because there's a fourth one coming out, but there's three that are right now. What was your first version?
My first version was actually the 1993 original classic, The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening on the Game Boy.
Me as well.
It was a wonderful Christmas present from my parents, and it definitely was the game that on the Game Boy got the most gameplay out of any of the titles that I had at the time.
Now, as for me, I also received it on the Game Boy. Like I stated about 30 seconds earlier, I do not remember if I got it as a Christmas present or anything, but I did have a little bit of a Game Boy library at that point because I had, Mario Land 1, I believe Mario Land 2, a few others. I remember having Alleyway and Tetris, but Link's Awakening was really cool to see Zelda come to the Game Boy, and it did not disappoint. Well, I did on the first one. I never did chores or anything as a kid. I did do chores, but I never got money for them. But anytime I ever needed money, anytime I'd go to the mall, my dad would actually throw me a little bit of cash, and I actually bought Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening DX with that money. So I upgraded. That was probably actually my first upgrade now that I think about it.
Around 1996, when I acquired the Game Boy Color, the first game I had to get for it was Link's Awakening DX, and that too was added to my library and was extensively played by me. I loved each version of The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening.
And DX, that offered not only color, but it offered an extra dungeon and the use of the Game Boy printer. Did you actually own that one?
I did not own the Game Boy printer, but I did enjoy the fact that they included a number of extras. The extra color palette was nice, as well as being able to handle all the okay puzzles within the color dungeon, which was a nice addition.
It's always nice whenever they throw something extra and give a little extra incentive to buy the game. That way, it's not just here's this game in color.
And then later on, of course, the 3DS version was available for download. That, of course, was added to the 3DS downloads that I had available on my own system, and received extensive play there as well.
That, I believe, was as soon as I saw it, because as far as the 3DS was concerned, well, I didn't buy the 3DS the day it came out. I did a few months later, but when Link's Awakening came out, that was a instant buy for me.
I do believe it was actually the highest selling 3DS download title that Nintendo's released.
Nice. So, Link's Awakening. Let's go over some highlights. Actually, what is Link's Awakening? Would you like to give a quick summary of the game?
This particular game is actually the first sequel to take place following A Link to the Past. This Link is traveling back after training afar to be able to defeat Ganon, just in case he returns once again, when he's blown off of his ship by a bolt of lightning and washes up on the mysterious Koholint Island. Link does his best to try to figure out a way off the island, but soon uncovers a dark secret about the land that he's found himself in, and must make a hugely important decision if he is to escape this mysterious place ruled by the Great Windfish.
Trapped in a dream, literally, and well, actually, just literally.
Not exactly the best way that dreams are made of, but I suppose our hero will have to make do.
Sweet dreams were not made of this for Link.
What were some of your favorite things concerning The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening?
Some of my favorite things was being able to combine items. I love the fact that you're able to get the Pegasus boots and the Roc's Feather, and you can combine them to add new elements to the game. You know, being able to run and dash. Now, while you were able to jump in like a Link 2, Zelda 2, this was the very first time you ever saw it in a top-down Zelda. So to see the Roc's Feather like that, that was really cool to be able to mix and match items to see what you could do next in it.
It did add a lot of intricacies to the puzzles. The items definitely were a good highlight for the game. Especially fun were the bomb arrows, and then everybody's favorite nuclear weapon at the end of the game, the fire rod, where it even included the caption, "Now you can burn things. Burn them. Burn, baby, burn." And burn they did. All the way to the ending of the game. Additionally, there were a number of other items that were really, really neat to be able to utilize. The ocarina was first introduced on this particular game, as well as the continued usage of the infamous hookshot.
Ah, the hookshot. One thing I do love about when they brought the ocarina into this one is that Link didn't know how to play it. And when he tried to show it off to Marin, she kind of called him out on his BS.
He definitely flubbed those first few flat notes there, didn't he? However, as Link progresses through the game, he learns 3 very, very neat songs, especially the infamous Ballad of the Windfish.
Ah, and that song even makes a few appearances in later games, such as Majora's Mask, to be one that is noteworthy.
Speaking of intricate music, music is especially important starting in the Zelda series, starting with this particular title. Link's Awakening has a thorough soundtrack consisting of close to 80 different tracks. Every portion of the overworld is well scored. Every dungeon has its own particular theme. There are numerous cutscene motifs, and the very ending of the game itself is fully scored out by the composers.
It's definitely a time in video games when music was really becoming quite a thing. It's, when video games stepped up from being, like a side hobby to like something that you really plug hours into. So, game developers would take it more seriously. Look at how Final Fantasy was progressing at the time. If you look at Final Fantasy 2 in the States versus, which is Final Fantasy 4, the music there is excellent, which is around this time. Zelda followed suit with that and made their soundtrack most excellent with such tunes as The Lost Wood. Is it? No, Lost Wood. Mysterious Wood, that's it. I'm going to get bashed in the comments for that. But also, one that Eli and I were talking about before this was Tall Tall Heights. That one is actually especially noteworthy.
Tall Tall Heights tends to be the one that everybody cites, especially memorable from this particular game. One has to throw some credit to the face shrines, both north and south, as well as the ending of the game itself. I always have to give credit to the final composition of the ending theme.
Let's go back to those face shrines. Now, that was a part of the game where the game truly felt eerie. Zelda Adventures, it's a grand adventure in the first 3 that, pop up before this one. But this particular Zelda, that part right there, the face shrine, that big reveal that this is all part of the Windfish's dream, and the music right there just really grabs you. And I think they did such an awesome job with atmosphere, with the story, and I don't know, even just think about it. Whew! Gives me the willies. I need some potions. To my health. But yes, you gotta hand it to Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening. They definitely nailed it with the music.
Hence why it's become, again, one of the most memorable Zeldas of the entirety of the series and well worthy of a remake coming up. Now, for the game highlights, one has to give extremely good credit for the item combinations, the Rock's Feather and Pegasus Boots. My particular favorite was the bomb arrows. I like the fact that your interactions with all the characters were really varied depending upon the time that you interacted with them in the game, especially the shopkeeper, whom you legitimately could steal from, but beware, this was a one-time deal. If you returned again, he would smite you.
That's putting it nicely. He kills you dead.
Now, this particular Zelda title is almost treated as a parody. There's telephone booths, there's weird interactions, kooky characters. You've got cameos by Princess Peach. You've got a Mario-esque character with Talon, Tarin. I'm gonna get killed in the comments for that one. Tarin in the mysterious woods, holding up a magic mushroom, of course. Hey, Mario. You've got an evil Kirby-esque enemy that winds up in the Eagle's Tower.
Oh, I hated him.
You've got Podoboos, you've got Piranha Plants, Goombas, you've got Mr. Right from SimCity showing up. You have Richard from a Japanese-only series, For Whom the Frog Tolls, showing up there in Canelet Castle towards the middle of the game. There was no end to the little tidbits and Easter eggs that they included on this particular game.
And let's not forget, you had to take a chain chomp on a walk to get into a dungeon.
Bow wow. Ever will you be my bane going into Gopanga Swamp.
When I first ran into that chain chomp, I was terrified. I thought he was going to rip me apart because Mario Brothers 3.
Everybody's afraid of those chain chomps. I know I was. And then I discovered he's a Disc 1 nuke. He would kill everything.
And does he ever? But yeah, with a bunch of cameos and a bunch of interesting new characters too. Like it's the first one where the owl comes in. What's his name?
He's just the wise owl. He serves as a prototype actually for Kaepora Gaebora for Ocarina of Time.
Ah, so that's why he doesn't talk so well. That's why you can skip his dialogue and not get looped into endless conversation with him.
He is the prototype, and he doesn't trap you in his endless verbiage.
Ah, yes. Let's talk about the ending, shall we?
The ending, of course, is where the majority of the interest in the game lies. The developers of The Legend of Zelda: Link's Awakening were huge Twin Peaks followers, and they included a lot of the mind-blowing aspects of Twin Peaks when developing this title. And you can see that with the whole idea of being inside of a dream, freeing the dreamer from the nightmare that is plaguing it, and then waking the dreamer up.
And yeah, and at the time, it was such a completely different type of ending that you'd never seen in video games yet, or at least maybe not on Nintendo consoles.
Very rarely. The only one I can think of that was close would be Super Mario Brothers 2, where they did it was all just a dream business.
Ooh, that is a very good point. This one though, that one Mario just kind of woke up and it was like, oh, okay. This one
had huge importance for Link because it showed that not only was the dream real, but it had an effect upon the actual waking world when Link sees the windfish as it flies away at the very end. And if you manage to score the good ending, you actually manage to see Marin's wish come true as she turns into a seagull and flies away into the distance.
It's not how I want to live, but hey, to each their own, right?
Ah, the magic of gameplay.
But yeah, that ending, it was so strange and so weird, to destroy the entire world that you're in, the world that, that Link's been trying to, would you say save, or is he just trying to escape?
He started out trying to escape, but by the end of this, do you really want to leave this fantastic island that you've been a part of for so long and discovered so many secrets on?
True, and I feel like he actually does develop a bond with Marin by the end, at least, because he actually has interactions with her.
And that's part of the gameplay as well. The nightmares actually begin to realize how important she is and kidnaps Marin late in the game. You manage to rescue her fairly easily, but uh, she herself had been trying to wake the windfish as well, which means that the dream was starting to shatter even before Link had managed to completely wake the windfish.
So yeah, so much going on in this game. Oh, on so many levels. Not only for Zelda, but for video games in general. I mean, just amazing.
The legacy of the game itself is extremely important. Without Link's Awakening, we would have a vastly different Ocarina of Time. Musical motifs and its usage within the series would be wildly different. The ocarina in and of itself may not even appear as a mainline item that is showcased so prominently in titles such as the Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask.
Indeed. So yeah, a little game turned out to have such a huge impact. It's just awesome.
And we're definitely looking forward to the remake when it comes out soon.
I've got my pre-order partially paid off, so I am almost there.
We're going to have it on day one, so if you guys like The Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening, be sure to jump on board and grab that as soon as you can.
You know we will. So, any final thoughts before we go?
No final thoughts at this time. I am just looking forward to getting the title in my hands and being able to play it on the Switch.
Well then, let's cheers to Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening.
Cheers.
Alright, well,
This has been the Switch Lord Council.
signing off. But yes, thank you for checking us out. We will judge you next time.
Later.